Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video and welcome back to Merlin's Revenge. So if you don't know, this is my series where I'm recreating my old Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 ride from back in the day and bringing it into Planet Coaster. So today we're going to be working on the launch tube and some details on the castle, so let's get to it. Alright, so starting the time lapse, the first thing we're going to be working on is the tube or the launch tube. And you know, the Incredible Hulk coaster, which is what I am mostly basing this ride on, has like a very specific design to the launch tube, and it has like a little bit of a pre-show in the inside. So if you go on Incredible Hulk, you kind of are gearing up towards the hill, and then eventually there's like a little bit of a pre-show, and then you launch through your tube or whatever. So I wanted to sort of create a little bit of pre-show in my launch tube as well. So what I decided to do is make sort of like a space, I don't know, you're traveling through space and time or whatever, and you're using magic to travel through it. It's, I don't know, the theming in the actual launch tube is a bit of a stretch. I'm not really quite sure, but the idea is like, you're gonna kind of go up into this launch tube. It's gonna be like you're in space and time, and this whole thing is gonna be rotating, and then Merlin casts a spell, or whoever casts a spell, and the thing speeds up, and then you launch through the tube. So it's kind of like I don't know. I would imagine it's like Merlin sort of traveling through time and space to launch you through this tube. I haven't quite figured out the actual lore of everything, but for the sake of scenery and completing the project, I didn't want to get too involved in like the lore and the storytelling of it all. So turn your brain off a little bit. But yeah, so like I said, we're creating the little pre-show that launches you through the tube, and I ended up using like the new rotating platforms to make the actual scenery rotate or whatever. So I wanted there to be a few of those. So we have both like there's like a single rotation platform, but you can't like change the settings for some reason, like to make multiple different types of rotations on one actual platform thing. So, or one animatronic, whatever, I don't know what it's called, whatever it's called. I'm only able to do one on each, so I had to like attach two, and then I also wanted to make there be an element like right before you launch, you'll kind of like cock back and you sort of pull back and then shoot off into the distance. So I also did that as well. So but I'm not going to spoil too much in terms of like how the pre-show is going to look in the final product. I will let you watch the POV when it is released. It's funny, I actually got a couple comments on the first episode I released where people were like, why didn't you post a POV? Like, it's a crime. And don't worry, I will be posting a POV once the final product is completed. So don't you worry, like it'll come out. I think I'm getting close to getting done. Like, I just have to do like in this episode we're going to be doing all of the like the launch tube and a little bit more of the castle. So we still got a bit of work to do, but we're not too far off, I would say. But yeah, in this launch tube, it took a lot of time to get it to actually work. But I think I got the mechanics to work, and the actual like the triggered events or whatever to work. So I think we're good to go there. So now we're actually moving on to the exterior of the launch tube, and this is kind of where I really needed to figure out a theme. I struggled a lot trying to figure out what I wanted to do here. And I looked back at my inspiration, or my the roller coaster I made back in when I was 13 or whatever. And it's very plain. The launch tube is just literally it's just a launch tube with like it's just a circular sort of metal, I guess, exterior tube with some of the like red sort of intermediate connectors or whatever, those like other red circles that are kind of intermediate or whatever. So I wanted to pay homage to that, but not make it just as plain as that. So I'm starting out with the base of just kind of metal or wood. I forget what these are, corrugated wall pieces or whatever. So I'm just kind of starting out with the cyan or turquoise tube, and then adding some details on top. So I also wanted to pay a little bit of homage to the actual, like the red rings that I had in the original one. So we're doing that here with these like, I guess these are like aquatic like truss pieces or whatever, or so I'm just using those to kind of make it look like that. And this is where I kind of want to explain what this actual tube is. So this tube is more or less a telescope, and I know telescopes didn't really exist like when I guess the castle was built, but I kind of justified it as if the telescope is, you know, the means as which Merlin is going to launch you into space or whatever. So that's why you kind of come through this telescope and you get launched out. I don't know. Like I said, I really struggle trying to figure out a way to thematically make it work, because I always get like in my head about like trying to make the theme work and make sure it all makes sense. But at the end of the day, people are here just to ride the ride. They don't care about the theme. They don't care. You know, as long as it looks cool and it's fun, it's thrilling, then we're all good. So we're not going to dive too much into the lore. But anyways, enough about that. This launch tube, you know, this was actually sort of a culmination of inspiration from the whole coaster, obviously, but also like other rides that shoot you out of a telescope. And I'm mainly talking about Space Mountain, with the Space Mountain in Paris, or I think it's like a Star Wars theme now. I'm not quite sure, but and that one is cool because when you kind of shoot out of the tube, I guess there's like a element where the thing like will open and close, and then like once it closes, it shoots out into space or something like that. So I was thinking about adding more mechanical moving parts to the actual tube. Like at one point I had the tube at the end sort of spinning with the interiors, I guess, but I decided to keep it static because I was like, I don't know if the park would have the budget to actually make all these moving parts. You know, it's already complicated enough to have the moving part of the like circular tube spinning, you know, because it already takes up so much space for the like motors under the actual like the tire drive motors at launch. You know, there's not a lot of room for that already, so I decided to leave that off and keep it a little bit more simple. And here we go. Here's a little bit more of an indication that this is a telescope. I'm adding kind of one of those side scopes that you would, I guess, see on telescopes. I'm not really sure what it's called, but this is kind of to sell the fact that like, oh, you're kind of launching out of a telescope into the stars or whatever. So kind of going for I guess a steampunk aesthetic with the fantasy theme, I guess. And I thought about theming this launch tube to be like you're shooting out of a castle, and the actual launch tube would be made out of like fantasy fairy tale castle pieces like you see in my castle over there. But it just like I tried it out and it just like didn't seem like it fit very well. It didn't look good. And to me, like this looks great in the overall like area of the park and the overall ambiance of the park. So you know, we decided to add a little bit of a steampunk element, but it's not going to be like the main theme, you know, like there's steampunk-esque elements, but it's not like the overarching vibe of the area. So the overarching vibe of the area I'm going for is more of a fantasy style, medieval style castle, which is, you know, what the actual main castle is made out of. And I thought about adding some steampunk elements to the actual castle as well, like more pipes and things, but I think I'm going to keep it a little bit more sleek and a little bit more not like overly cluttered with all of these like pieces of pipes and gears and whatever. You know, we kind of already see that in the telescope here, so I'm not even like going too crazy in the telescope in terms of having a lot of like gears and stuff. It's very kind of simple steampunk, but still having a little bit to make the theme or make the idea that this is you're shooting out of a telescope work, I guess, if that makes sense. So anyways, I'm gonna stop talking about justifying theme and let's get back to what we're actually working on here. So yeah, so here actually this is one of my favorite parts of the build, is theming the coaster trains. And this is like one of the new features of Planet Coaster 2 that I haven't actually been able to work with a lot yet, and that is the attaching scenery to the train cars. So yeah, so at first I was like, okay, I'll add like a simple couple of cool elements here because, like, you know, on the whole coaster, the train is like kind of stylized and looks nice or whatever. So I thought about adding a little bit of theme to mine. But then I was like, well, I have 3 trains. I might as well make each train a different theme. So this train's theme is like a carriage. So this is like the royal carriage that you would be taken on by, I don't know, the king or queen would be transported in. You've seen like Game of Thrones or like any sort of movie with a king or queen. They're always transported in this like luxury, I guess, like wagon to go anywhere in town or to travel to other towns or castles or whatever. So I guess that's like kind of the theme of this one. And the front part like was difficult because I was trying to figure out what kind of lights to use, and I worked with a couple of different options, but I think I eventually figured it out. So yeah, this is the carriage one. Now we're moving on to, I think this is my favorite out of the 3. This is the warrior train. So we have, I just saw these like Viking shields and I was like, these would be perfect for the side of my coaster car. So, attaching them all, making sure there's a little bit of variability in color. I don't know if it makes sense in terms of like the castle having like different coats of arms. Cause I think like, you would have a coat of arms or color associated with a certain house or like, I don't know, castle or whatever. So I don't know if it makes a lot of sense that there are like 8 different types, but I thought it would be a missed opportunity if I just made all of them the same one. So I decided to make each train like kind of a different color, and that just adds so much variety. And I think it looks so cool. I was so proud of this train. It was difficult though because I had to like match the color of the shield with the wooden piece that I used here on the side, and like I guess like the color shading doesn't really match, but with a bit of finessing I was able to make it work. And yeah, I didn't expect these trains to look as good. I was just kind of thinking about adding some generic scenery to each, but then like once I got into it, I was like, oh, we got to add all kinds of elements, like we got to make this look as cool as possible. I spent a lot of time like figuring it out, so but I think we're pretty good there. The other thing I want to talk about too, and it's already reaching the video mark of like 13 minutes or so. So the length of these videos, I decided to make this video a little bit longer, just because there was a lot of content in this one. We're getting a lot done, so I wanted to make this. I wanted to try out longer video lengths. So let me know what you think. If I should keep the videos a little bit shorter, I think they were like around 15 minutes before. But yeah, this time around, I wanted to show more of like what I was working on, show more of the progress of everything. And if you guys like hearing me talk, then then I'm happy to have you here. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you want these to be shorter, or if you like this length, let me know. So the front part was a little bit more difficult. The front part was kind of like I wasn't sure what to put. I think I ended up just putting some, this is the warrior train, so I ended up just putting a couple of swords and like, yeah, these like big mallet thingies or whatever. I think these are actually part of the new update where you can build like gift shops and stuff. I think there's those, even the horn hat or the horn hat or whatever I have on the front is also part of that scenery set. So, and the swords I think have always been there, but yeah, I also kind of struggled with lights, like figuring out what light I should put here as well. I think I ended up just using some kind of generic lantern, but that's the thing too. When I make these time lapse, I usually will cut out a lot of this like trial and error here, but I want to show you how much trial and error it comes to actually come up with these, different aspects of whatever I'm making. And I decided to keep the lights kind of synonymous between all 3 train types, so that's why we're adding it to the carriage there. And then I think this is my second favorite train. This is the dragon train. So I was like flipping through the scenery pieces trying to figure out what I could use, and I saw these dragon like pieces I think are part of like the Viking set or something. And I was like, oh my god, these look so good. These need to go on. These need to go on my on one of my trains. So I decided to make one of the trains like a dragon. So we have like the front part where you have the head, and then these side pieces are just, I don't know, generic sort of wooden pieces. And then the back part is a tail, and then I decided to add little dragon feet. And I think those dragon feet are from the kitty coaster that they like the dragon kitty coaster. I forget the like manufacturer name or whatever, but they decided to add them to where like you can like, I don't know, each individual car like theme is individual scenery pieces now. So I was like, I'm attaching this to my my coaster and making it a dragon theme. So I don't know if you saw there, but I had I guess there was like a front head, and then the back part had the tail of that dragon coaster, and then I also the front car had like 2 feet, and the back car had 2 feet, so it's like a full dragon. So now we're moving on to the actual station platform, and this one I was looking back at my old Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 build, and I was like, oh, the train could use or the station could use a lot more theme, because I don't think I themed it at all. It's just like you kind of pull into the station and there's the launch tube scenery pieces. So definitely this time around we are making this a lot better and a lot more themed. And in this area I wanted to kind of build the theme of you're entering the telescope. So that's why we're adding a little bit more like space, I guess, themed. I want this area to be like a little bit darker when you're entering. And so, yeah, that's kind of the main idea here. I think I'm planning to add more steampunk elements, because I think this is the transition where you come from the castle into the actual steampunk-esque like launch tube where you're going through the telescope. You're kind of entering the telescope and entering like space-time or whatever. So that's what I'm building here, is like the little entrance, and I kind of made it sort of a I don't know what you call it, like I'm planning to make it sort of like a silver kind of ring, or like some kind of machinery you're entering. So eventually, like once I think I put the roof on here, and then we get to work on that. Yeah. So but we're just adding like a little bit of scenery, doing some like checks. I also wanted to like match the black sort of awning theme or whatever, so that's what we got going on here. And then, you know, just adding a lot of doors and things. You know, like I said, I'm keeping these episodes a little bit longer. Normally I would cut out some of these things, but I wanted to show you a little bit more of what I'm doing. Here we go. Here's where I start building the actual entrance. So, you know, we got like, I don't know, like a little, I guess it's like a golden entryway with I don't know, I use these like aquatic like trusses or whatever to create kind of a mechanical feel to the entrance. So we're gonna like add some lights, and but yeah, this is kind of where I think the steampunk mixes with the actual like the fantasy castle, because the rest of the castle, like I said, doesn't have a lot of theme in terms of like steampunk. You know, I kept it very fantasy clean, but you know, this is where the two worlds meet. You know, there's not much like to it. It's like I said, we're not okay. Let's stop talking about the lore. Let's get back to, I guess, what I'm doing here. So I wanted to match the theme of the golden end on the launch tube, so that's why we kind of made sort of a golden entryway there. And I also wanted to create some like seat row signs, because you know, like you'll usually have the attendant, they'll come up to you and be like, oh, what seat, or you know, you're assigned to seat row 2 or row 3, and how many are in your party or whatever. And sometimes they'll have these like number signs on the actual ground, but here I wanted to kind of create a hanging sort of structure with like some pipes coming out, giving it that loose steampunk theme, you know, as well. So that's kind of what we got here. I'm very grateful that they have these colorable like numbers and letters in the game. Like, it's so much easier to create like create simple like signs or simple ride signs or whatever you call them. It's very important that they have these too, because before you would have to like download TMTK, but here like you have them in the game already. So yeah, so like I said, I wanted this area to be kind of a dreary sort of dim lighting sort of feel, so that's why we're adding some dim lights here. Unfortunately, this is a very, very sad. I do have an issue where the interior lighting mechanism doesn't really work on my computer. I think my graphics card needs a little bit of an upgrade. So I'm going to look into that, because right now, like if I go into this area, it just kind of looks like that dull sort of interior look. I think you can kind of see like up in the left-hand corner, it's just like a dull darkness that doesn't look realistic. I don't want to have to like force myself to put this thing on night mode in order to get the interior lightings that I am going for, because I've completely enclosed this area. It just doesn't want to freaking go dark. So yeah, after some research, it sounded like my graphics card needed a little bit of an upgrade. So we're gonna look into that, and I think hopefully by the next episode I will be able to show off the cool interior lighting that I was going for. Because I want this to kind of operate as a, I want it to operate as a ride that can just be open during the day. I don't have to force nighttime in order to get the effect that I want. I want the effect to always be running properly. But anyways, enough about my complaints about the lighting system. Let's get back to what we're doing. So this is the exit way or whatever. And by the time I got to this, the new sorcery pack came out. And I was like, oh, these pieces would be perfect, like for exactly what I'm looking for on, or like the vibe I'm going for in my park. So I was like, this came out perfect timing. Extra medieval style scenery theme pieces are perfect. So what I'm creating here is sort of like a dungeon. So after you're done with your ride, you go through the exit portal and you kind of enter the dungeon. Obviously, the dungeon is going to have a very loose theme as well. It's not going to be very it's just going to be kind of a means of exiting it, and it's not like going to have any fun theming at all. But I did want to use like some of the sorcery pack themes, so I added like the gargoyles you have on the side, and then obviously the walls, and then as I got further down, I used like kind of some of the dragon pieces. So I thought I think this pack's pretty cool. I want to know like you guys' thoughts on the sorcerer pack. I was sort of hoping for a generic, more spooky pack, but I mean, this is also great. I think the best parts of this pack are the inclusion of like the Intimate Blitz coaster, because I think all of us have been wanting that for years. I know I have, and it always baffled me. It's like, why do they not have this in the game? Like it is like essential for any theme park game to have like that coaster type, So I'm very thankful that they added that. I'm hoping that they add more ride types that exist in the real world. Like I think they're missing like the Aero suspended coaster, because I've been wanting to try that out as well. I also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have like the Vekoma tilt coaster pieces. They have like the Vekoma tilt coaster, I think, but they don't have the actual like tilt coaster with the Vekoma like coaster type. So I'm hoping they add that in the future. But anyways, I think now we're moving on to more of the boring stuff. We have the station completed, and now we're kind of moving on to the exterior utilities. So this is where I was building kind of a simple switch track. So I guess my thought is that like the coaster will kind of stop there, and then we're going to create a little switch track that will switch the tracks back, and then they can back up into the maintenance building, which is what I'm building back here. I didn't want to go too crazy with this maintenance area, because I just wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to sell the fact that this is a maintenance area. It doesn't need to be like extremely detailed, like something like Nerdchacha would create, where he has created like 2 scale switch tracks with the warehouse having all of the equipment needed and all of the like I don't know, like I've watched some of his videos where he would create like a maintenance shed for a ride, and it just looks insane. Like all of the details that he includes is like wild. But I'm very impressed. I think it's so cool because I'm also kind of a realism buff when it comes to these things, and I very much appreciate like the time and effort and thought that he puts into it, because it's so cool. I have a lot of respect for him. For me though, I don't really want to. I don't think this is the type of ride to do that. I do have rides where I want to keep hyper realism intact, but this one I kind of want to just keep it simple and keep it to where I can be able to finish, within the time that I want. So I decided to keep it more generic, but just, I also wanted to include maintenance areas though, because a lot of times like rides don't include maintenance areas, and I want the space to be right. I want the utility to be there. I want the thought to be there, and I think that's kind of what the important part about these builds is you have the thought and the idea that like, this area will need to be for maintenance, but this area will be the station. But I don't really feel the need to go. I like to keep my details specific to certain areas. So like I kind of want to keep my details more to the castle and the ride supports. I don't really want to keep my details very specific to the maintenance sheds and stuff, but for some people that's just as important, like Nerchacho. But I still love his content. I watch his stuff all the time, and I'm just blown away. And I got a lot of like good ideas. I'm like, I never thought about the certain like maintenance and I guess certain ride aspects that I didn't think about, and it makes me a better builder too, because I'm like, I need to think about where the maintenance shed's going to be, where the exit would be, like how this ride would be built and where it would be built, and all that good stuff, and how it fits in with the park layout. So there's all these things that like he thinks about that I don't really, I haven't really thought about, and I commend him for helping me there. So anyways, we are kind of getting back to the time lapse. I am again sort of building out the maintenance area here. So we just have like a pathway that comes around. It's very nice that we can have pathways that look more, you can change the color and have them look more generically like, this is like asphalt. This is obviously like a maintenance road that's going to come around. Maintenance road that I wouldn't have normally included, but I decided to include because I wanted there to be some thought of realism. So, and I kind of ran into an issue in the back here, because originally I was not going to have this part open to the back, but I always run into this issue when I build single rides, is I think like, I need to add this here and add this there and make this part like bigger, and I want to make this land, and I want to add this ride here in the future, and then I start turning my single ride turns into a master plan of a park. And that's kind of what happened to Lunar World when I started Lunar World. I basically built that park over the span of the entire time that Planet Coaster was released, and I never really worked on a full other park. That was the park that I worked on completely. So I run into this issue where I start a park and then I want to keep going and going and going, and then eventually my computer crashes because I can't run the park anymore. So and what happened was I was like, well, in the future, if I want to actually have some guests like behind the castle, I need to make sure that the back of the castle also looks good. So this originally was going to be a blank area, but now it has turned into me trying to make sure that the back part looks appropriate. So that's what we're doing here. We're adding Serena into the back, and I'm worried that this is going to turn into me wanting to build a full park. And the other day I was thinking about like, in the park here in the castle, I could put behind the castle, I could put this themed land, and to the right, I could put this themed land. And I was like, hold on, slow down. Like these things take a lot of time. So who knows? Maybe this will be a graveyard for all of my old rides that I made in the past, because I have archived a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 roller coasters that I built. I think I recreated one of them before in regular Planet Coaster 1, but this one I think will, I think this park will probably end up turning into the graveyard for all that. So I have a couple thoughts on other rides I wanted to do, but I'm also kind of glad that I wanted to think about this back area in terms of adding more like spires and whatever these are called, spires and windows and doors and wall edges and stuff, because it adds a lot more depth to the front as well. Like I also wanted to keep in mind how the front looks. So the front looks, the front has I wanted the front to look good from a distance, but I also want the back to look good from a distance. So when I was placing these spires, I would look from the front, like right here. So I'm looking from the front, I'm like, okay, that looks good. And then I look from the back, I'm like, okay, that also looks good. So so after a little bit of thought, I was able to figure it out. But so now we're back on the launch tube. I forgot to actually record the first part, but this is the sort of the support for the actual launch here. So I just wanted to keep it generic. I wasn't really sure like what to make this support. I guess I was thinking about making a castle, but I wanted to make it kind of have a little bit of like clean sort of steampunk-esque theme. So just added some metal walls and some of those like castle, I don't know what they're called, like spire things. I've used that piece so many times. So I got the like castle, I don't know, edge pieces or whatever it's called. I use those things a lot. So because they're perfect for like if you want like a square sort of square off grid piece, they're perfect for that. So now we're getting to the fun part. This part I love building supports. So on the whole coaster, it has like these two sort of really thick pieces of like steel support. So we're eventually going to take out all of or most of the supports that Planet Coaster creates, and we're going to do all custom supporting. So probably going to do that next episode. Finally, we're adding this little platform at the top, this like little maintenance platform for the people or the maintenance people on the tube to go make sure, I don't know, check out the track or whatever they do. On the whole coaster, there's like a little platform at the top, so I wanted to also keep that there. And then we're nearing the end of the time lapse, but I wanted to show also what I'm doing here. So this is a little exit way. This is where everyone exits the ride. So they kind of go under the station track into the dungeon and then out through the exit here. And I wanted to do what every theme park does when it comes to exits for a ride. One, include a gift shop, and two, include a photo op area. So I also want to try out the new photo and gift shop areas. So like this is right at the exit. Go to any Disney park, even like a lot of Cedar Fair rides or dark rides, when you exit the ride, you walk straight through the gift shop. So that's what we're doing here, building a gift shop at the exit. And I wanted to make this the gift shop's kind of hidden. It's not like crazy open to the public, but I wanted it to be in an area where people that are exiting the ride have the opportunity to go to the gift shop, and people that are kind of walking through this area are able to go to the gift shop as well. So that's what we're doing here. Like I said, I want people to kind of walk under and around the launch tube. So I'm planning in the next episode or at some point to create a whole like site plan with with pathing and scenery and trees and small little stores or restaurants or coffee shops or whatever, bathrooms, like little tiny things to make this area feel very cohesive. I may include a flat ride. See, this is where the problem becomes, because I start digging deeper and deeper and deeper into like, what am I going to add here and there and there? And it turns into a slippery slope and the project never gets done. And, we're on part 7 of a time lapse. It's like you need to figure out your stuff and just complete a project. So to be determined if that happens, but I do want to add some kind of site plan or whatever. So that is in the works, don't worry. And so final little bit, we're kind of making this an awning area. So it's sort of hidden off in the edge, but I want anyone walking by to see the gifts and want to be able to come. But I also want to keep the area shaded so people are comfortable when they're shopping and doing all that good stuff. So I also will say I really like the gift shop inclusion into the game. I think it's super cool. I love how you can just kind of plop it down and it'll generate all of the props it'll generate all the like randomized props or whatever, which is usually what I would do. I don't really feel the need to make it theme specific, though it would make sense to make it theme specific with this and use all the like medieval and whatever, the medieval and Viking pieces, I'm sure would make sense. But I'm just like, I'll just keep it generic for now. I'm not trying to go into that much detail. Maybe in the future we will, but yeah, this is our little shop, a little gift shop, and a little photo op. Also, the on-ride photo thing, so cool. I love it so much. Like, I turned my TV screens on with ride photos, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I love the little details. Like, that is what makes these games really fun, is when you have incorporated little details like that. So, very good job, Frontier. I am very, very impressed. But yeah, so we are kind of approaching the end of the time lapse, or we're almost getting there. So wanted to thank you guys for watching this. I also appreciate you hanging around this longer sort of content. But yeah, so like I said, I think we're on to maybe 1 or 2 more episodes of this, and then I will have a full video. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and hit like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. All right, goodbye.